In the quiet, fog-laden streets of old London, long before the modern alarm clock or the buzzing of mobile phones, mornings began with a subtle human rhythm. The city itself seemed to awaken slowly, wrapped in a soft blanket of mist, with faint lamps casting warm pools of light on the glistening cobblestones. It was in these early hours that the knocker-uppers emerged. Men and women who performed one of the most unusual professions the city had ever known. Their task was simple yet vital: to awaken the sleeping, to rouse workers, students, and families from the depths of night, with a gentle tap or a soft flick guiding them into the day. Imagine the city in those hours. The distant sound of horses on cobblestone echoes gently against the fog. A faint murmur of water from the Thames drifts through the alleys, mingling with the occasional bark of a dog or the creak of a turning sign. And through it all, the knocker-upper moves quietly, carefully, a solitary figure carrying a long wooden stick, or sometimes a pea shooter, ready to deliver the gentle raps on the windows above. Each movement is deliberate, measured, and rhythmic, almost meditative in its precision. There is no haste, no rush, only the careful orchestration of sound and timing, a human connection woven into the fabric of the city itself. Some mornings were particularly foggy, and visibility could be limited to just a few feet. Gas lamps glowed faintly in the haze, illuminating the paths that stretched in seemingly endless lines of houses. Children might press their faces against frosted window panes, half asleep, watching the long, quiet shadow of the knocker-upper as it moved from house to house, tapping, flicking, and climbing with care. In these moments, there was something almost magical in the ritual. It was not only about waking people up, it was about the subtle, intimate connection between the worker and the resident, a rhythm of trust, patience, and gentle interaction that the city depended upon each day. The knocker-uppers were an essential, almost invisible part of London life. Without them, factory workers might oversleep, children could miss school, and the orderly rhythm of the day would falter. Yet, despite their importance, these individuals were rarely recognized, often passing unseen through streets that were just beginning to catch the first whispers of daylight. Their work demanded stamina, agility, and a sense of timing that bordered on artistry. It was a quiet symphony performed in the misty morning hours, a reminder that even in the simplest of actions, there could be a profound sense of purpose and connection. Tonight, as you listen, imagine yourself walking alongside them, hearing the soft taps echoing through the fog, feeling the calm, steady pulse of the city awakening. Let the gentle rhythm of the knocker-upper's steps guide your imagination, easing your mind into a state of quiet reflection and gentle curiosity. You are stepping into a world long forgotten, where mornings began not with an abrupt alarm, but with patience, care, and the soft, deliberate touch of a human hand. Relax, settle in, and allow yourself to be carried through the streets of old London, one gentle tap at a time, into a history that is quiet, calming, and utterly captivating. The knocker-up was more than a morning messenger. It was a guide, a guardian of routine, a quiet orchestrator of the city's daily rhythm. The job required individuals to be punctual, careful, and deeply aware of the needs of the people they served. Men and women alike moved through the foggy streets, their tools in hand, a long wooden stick for reaching high windows, pea shooters for soft knocks, sometimes a ladder to reach upper floors. Each knock was intentional, timed precisely so that the sleeper would awaken naturally, without the jolt of sudden alarm. Some knocker-uppers developed a subtle musicality in their tapping, unintentionally creating rhythms that flowed across the streets. Residents would awaken to a gentle symphony of small sounds, a quiet prelude to the start of their day. Their work was physically demanding. Routes often stretched for miles, covering dense neighborhoods, narrow alleyways, and tall terraces. The early mornings were cold, misty, sometimes damp with fog. Yet there was a meditative quality to the routine. Step by step, tap by tap, the knocker-upper moved with intention and grace. Though mostly unrecognized, the profession was crucial. Factories relied on workers' timely arrival. Families depended on punctual mornings, and the city itself thrived on the steady rhythm of awakening. In a way, the knocker-upper connected deeply with the life of London, bridging night and day with their subtle presence. The streets, otherwise silent, were brought gently to life, one soft knock at a time, echoing through time and memory as a reminder of human care and attentiveness. The knocker-uppers were a unique blend of reliability, physical stamina, and quiet diligence. Mostly men, often from working-class backgrounds, they carried a responsibility that few would think of as essential, yet the city relied upon their punctuality. Some women also took up the trade, particularly in neighborhoods where a gentler touch was appreciated or where climbing ladders wasn't required. Their lives were shaped by the rhythm of early mornings, and their work demanded both patience and resilience. To be a knocker-upper was not simply to tap on windows. It was to understand human behavior, to anticipate sleep patterns, and to move with a quiet awareness that disturbed no one unnecessarily. They needed to be nimble on their feet, ready to navigate uneven streets, muddy paths, or slick rooftops. Often, they would start before dawn, long before the first factory whistles or school bells. Their eyes quickly adapted to the dim glow of gas lamps, and their ears became attuned to the faintest noises of a sleeping household. Some knocker-uppers carried small journals, marking which houses had been successfully awakened and which required repeat visits. Others relied solely on memory, knowing the precise location of every window along their route. They knew the families, the children, and even the pets that might bark or stir as the morning rituals began. There was a subtle intimacy in their work. They were entrusted with the beginning of each person's day, responsible for nudging people gently into the world beyond their dreams. The best knocker-uppers were often quietly admired by the community, though their recognition was rarely spoken aloud. Their reputation grew through reliability and care, rather than public praise. They were a quiet lifeline in the city, connecting households to the pulse of daily life. And while the modern observer might imagine a job of sudden knocks or raucous waking, the reality was much softer, slower, and deeply human. The knocker-upper walked not as a herald of urgency, but as a guardian of calm, a gentle presence guiding London from darkness into the soft light of morning. Each knocker-upper had their chosen instruments, honed to precision over countless mornings. The long wooden stick was perhaps the most iconic, reaching upper floor windows with ease, allowing the practitioner to tap without climbing. Some sticks were polished, others simple and weathered, but each was an extension of the knocker-upper's careful hand. The pea shooter was another marvel of simplicity and ingenuity. A small pea or tiny pellet could be launched gently against a window, creating a soft, effective tap. Children, fascinated by this unusual method, often watched as the pea's flight made the subtle, rhythmic sound that would awaken their families. The pea shooter required skill, patience, and a careful aim. Too hard, and the glass could crack. Too soft, and the sleeper remained undisturbed. Ladders, often portable and lightweight, allowed access to upper floors or rooftops. Some knocker-uppers developed nimble techniques for balancing on beams, stepping cautiously across ledges and reaching windows that seemed impossibly high. A morning route could take hours, weaving through streets, climbing terraces, and touching dozens of lives along the way. Bells and whistles were sometimes added for variety or necessity. A small bell might ring softly outside a household that was difficult to awaken, a musical note guiding a sleeper gently from dreams to consciousness. Over time, many knocker-uppers developed a personal rhythm, a cadence of taps and flicks that became a kind of quiet music throughout the neighborhood. Instruments alone did not make the knocker-upper. It was the rhythm, the care, and the understanding of people that transformed simple tools into a symphony of awakening. Each morning was a delicate choreography, a meditation in motion, blending sound, movement, and timing into an art form largely unseen by the waking world. Before the sun had risen, before the first sounds of the city's commerce and chatter began, the knocker-upper set out along misty streets. Their journey started silently, with only the faint glow of gas lamps illuminating the cobblestones ahead. The rhythm of their steps was careful and measured, matching the gentle pace of the early city. House by house, window by window, they tapped. Tap, pause, step, tap again. Each knock was timed to awaken without startling, to guide the sleeper gradually into the day. Some mornings were colder than others, with dew or frost making each step treacherous. Yet the knocker-upper moved with deliberate care. Children watched from dimly lit windows, rubbing eyes and stretching limbs as the gentle tapping signaled the start of another day. Pets stirred, some barking briefly, others settling back into sleepy comfort. For each house, the knocker-upper adjusted their technique, aware that each family, each sleeper, responded differently. The streets themselves seemed to hold their breath, aware of the quiet ritual unfolding. Distant horses clopped gently on cobblestone. A solitary cart rattled past, and the faint murmur of the Thames wove into the soundscape. And through it all, the knocker-upper moved, rhythmically, carefully, balancing tools, footsteps, and timing, as though conducting an invisible orchestra of dawn. The morning unfolded slowly, each repetition a meditation, each gentle tap a mark of patience. For the listener imagining this scene, it is a reminder that even in work, even in a task as simple as awakening, there can be quiet artistry and profound calm. Not every street or neighborhood welcomed the knocker-upper in the same way. Some districts were narrow, the alleys winding like rivers between tightly packed homes. In these areas, the knocker-upper had to weave carefully through the fog, mindful of uneven cobblestones and low-hanging signs. Others were grander, lined with terraces or houses that rose several stories high, requiring ladders or even daring rooftop navigation. Each neighborhood had its own rhythm, its own character, and the knocker-upper had to attune to these subtle differences. In the wealthier areas, windows were taller, panes larger, and often cleaner, allowing a glimpse inside where families might already stir. Gentle taps on the glass needed to be more delicate, subtle enough not to startle anyone, yet effective enough to awaken the residents. Sometimes, children would peek out from behind curtains, watching with curiosity as this quiet figure traversed the street. In the working class areas, homes were closer together, and the streets were often more congested with early risers, carts, or animals. Here, a knocker-upper had to move swiftly and efficiently, but still with care, ensuring each household received their gentle morning call. Fog often blanketed the city differently in each district. In one street, it clung to rooftops and chimneys, while in another, the mist rolled along the ground, muffling the faintest of sounds. Knocker-uppers adapted, listening closely, adjusting the force of their taps and pacing their steps to the unique acoustics of each neighborhood. They became masters of observation, reading the subtle signals of the city itself, the creaking shutters, the sway of hanging signs, the distant murmur of street vendors preparing for the day. The neighborhoods themselves seemed to participate in the ritual. Gas lamps flickered to life just as a pea shooter tapped a window above. Doors creaked open in gentle acknowledgement, and shutters rattled slightly as someone stirred inside. Each street had its own cadence, its own personality, and the knocker-upper became part of this living pattern. A gentle conductor of the morning symphony that slowly awakened London. Stories of individual knocker-uppers became quietly legendary within neighborhoods, passed from one family to the next like small, cherished tales. Thomas, for example, was known for his soft whistle, which floated through the fog and announced his presence before a single tap reached the window. Children would lie in their beds, half asleep, listening for the familiar melody, stretching their arms and yawning as if participating in a gentle morning ritual designed just for them. Mary, another notable figure, preferred the pea shooter, and she had a remarkable knack for accuracy. Her tiny pellets struck the exact spot needed to awaken a sleeper without startling them. Families often spoke of her skill with quiet admiration, marveling at how she could wake even the deepest sleepers with such precision. Her rounds were calm and deliberate, her pace gentle yet efficient. In every neighborhood she visited, her reputation preceded her. A soft tap, a fleeting shadow at the window, and people would awaken ready to greet the day. Not all stories were so precise or graceful. Occasionally, a dog barked unexpectedly, startling both the knocker-upper and the household. Fog sometimes obscured a window entirely, requiring a delicate improvisation to reach the sleeper without causing a disturbance. Yet, even these minor mishaps were part of the charm, creating small moments of shared humor or surprise. Some knocker-uppers developed clever strategies, tapping in rhythm to lull a sleeper gently, or creating patterns that became familiar melodies for those awake early enough to notice. Each of these individuals carried a deep sense of purpose. They weren't merely performing a job, they were participating in the quiet life of the city, shaping the daily rhythm with their gentle hands, careful steps, and soft taps. Imagine following them through streets, watching as they navigate ladders, rooftops, and fog, their presence unnoticed by all but the awoken. The city itself seems to hold its breath in respect, as if acknowledging the subtle artistry of these unseen, indispensable guardians of morning. Some mornings brought unexpected challenges that became stories told for years. On a particularly foggy day, one knocker-upper found that a mischievous cat had perched atop a windowsill, hissing softly at every approach. With quiet patience, she adjusted her steps, waited for the cat to move, and continued her rounds without ever startling the residents. These small interactions, though mundane in one sense, revealed the skill, patience, and adaptability required for the job. In another tale, a child, curious and awake before the usual time, attempted to imitate the knocker-upper with a small stick of their own. The results were unpredictable, sometimes startling the household, sometimes missing entirely. The knocker-upper would smile from a distance, gently continuing their work, aware that their role extended beyond mere awakening. It was about rhythm, patience, and trust. Weather, too, played a subtle role in these anecdotes. Rain could make rooftops slippery, fog could obscure entire streets, and wind could carry a soft tap off course. The knocker-upper's awareness of their surroundings, their attentiveness to sound, light, and movement, allowed them to adapt each morning. Each step, each tap became a meditation, requiring full presence and care. Over time, these stories built the quiet lore of neighborhoods. Families remembered their favorite knocker-uppers, the soft melodies of taps and whistles, and even the gentle missteps that humanized the work. In these tales, one glimpsed a world where human connection, patience, and rhythm dictated the start of each day. A far cry from the abrupt alarms and electronic buzzes of the modern world. Through these anecdotes, we see the knocker-upper not just as a worker, but as a keeper of calm, an unseen artist shaping the dawn. There was a rhythm to the knocker-upper's day, a gentle cadence that guided both worker and city. Tap, tap, pause, step, tap again. The repetition became almost meditative, a quiet heartbeat weaving through the streets. For those listening from their beds, it was a subtle, soothing sound, a prelude to consciousness, a soft accompaniment to the gradual lifting from sleep. Some knocker-uppers developed near musical patterns, rhythms that repeated across a street in a melody of gentle knocks. Residents who listened carefully might notice slight variations, a quicker pace here, a lingering pause there, each movement intentional and carefully measured. The sound became familiar, comforting even, a ritual that connected families, neighbors, and worker alike. The rhythm also helped the knocker-upper themselves. Walking long routes, balancing ladders, and adjusting taps required concentration, and the repetitive cadence offered a form of meditation, a way to move through space with calm awareness. The body, mind, and street became interconnected, a single, flowing experience. Over time, these rhythms echoed not only in physical space, but in memory. Even after the profession faded, those who had experienced it remembered the gentle taps, the soft whistle, the measured steps. It was a reminder that even in the simplest of acts, waking someone from sleep, there could be elegance, calm, and quiet artistry. The rhythm of the knocker-upper was not merely functional. It was deeply human, subtle, and profoundly soothing. The knocker-upper was an essential, though largely unseen, part of the cultural fabric of London. In many ways, their presence shaped the city's daily life. Families trusted them to awaken children for school. Factories relied on them to ensure workers arrived on time. And neighbors came to expect the gentle cadence as part of their morning routine. There was a subtle social contract between the worker and the community. Reliability, care, and consistency were expected and generally honored. Beyond utility, the knocker-upper contributed to the quiet rhythm of social life. Mornings unfolded with a calm, human touch, connecting households to one another through shared sound and movement. In an era before smartphones, electronic alarms, or precise watches, the knocker-upper represented a bridge between personal responsibility and communal structure. Their work reinforced trust, dependency, and a slow, deliberate pace in daily life. Qualities that have largely vanished in the rush of modern schedules. The profession also fostered small connections. Children would watch from windows, chatting in whispers about who would arrive first. Families would sometimes leave small gestures of thanks, a wave, a smile, or an informal acknowledgement. The knocker-upper, though transient and largely invisible, became a quiet symbol of care within the city. In retrospect, their cultural impact is profound. They remind us of a time when human attention and rhythm guided the start of each day, when mornings began not with sudden alarms, but with patience, care, and subtle artistry. Imagining the city in this way evokes calm, reflection, and an appreciation for the gentle, unseen efforts that shaped daily life for countless people across London's foggy streets. While the knocker-upper may have been one of the more peculiar occupations, it was by no means alone in a city full of now forgotten trades. London's streets were once populated with lamplighters who moved through the city at dusk, lighting gas lamps one by one with a careful touch. Town criers roamed through bustling squares, announcing news in booming voices that carried over the marketplace. Even rat catchers plied their trade with skill, protecting homes from the small yet persistent intruders that roamed the alleys. Each of these roles shared a common thread with the knocker-upper, a rhythm, a repetition, a connection to daily life that modern observers often overlook. Lamplighters moved with patience and precision, ensuring that light reached every corner as darkness fell. Town criers required memorization, vocal skill, and a certain presence, their voices punctuating the day with news and announcements. Rat catchers needed agility, awareness, and a subtle understanding of the environment they worked within. For the knocker-upper, the rhythm of tapping windows and moving through foggy streets was similarly deliberate. Just as the lamplighter's work marked the passage from day into night, the knocker-upper marked the passage from sleep into wakefulness. In a sense, each forgotten profession had its own music, its own meditative cadence, blending human effort with the urban environment. Thinking of these roles together allows the mind to wander through a city long vanished, where ordinary life relied upon extraordinary attentiveness. They remind us of a gentler, slower era, when work was both functional and quietly artistic, and each individual contributed to the communal flow of life. The knocker-upper, while humble, was part of a larger tapestry of human care, rhythm, and attention that defined the city's character for generations. As the years progressed, the quiet rhythm of the knocker-upper began to fade. The rise of alarm clocks, inexpensive and reliable, reduced the need for human intervention. households purchased mechanical devices that could pierce the sleep with consistency, requiring no empathy, no attention to timing, no delicate touch. Electricity brought light and convenience, diminishing the need for gas lamps and those who tended them. Telephone networks and, later, digital technologies offered instant communication, replacing the role of the morning messenger with a silent, mechanical presence. Yet even as the job disappeared, its memory lingered in the streets and in stories shared among families. Those who had experienced the gentle rhythm of taps and whistles often remembered it with nostalgia, recalling how mornings were once more connected to the human touch. Some knocker-uppers retired quietly, blending into other occupations, their work largely unrecognized, except in faint anecdotes passed from parent to child. The decline also reflected broader societal shifts. Industrialization demanded efficiency, speed, and uniformity. While the knocker-upper offered a soothing, humanized rhythm, the city increasingly favored mechanical precision. Yet in hindsight, one can appreciate the artistry of the profession, the care imbued in each tap, the awareness and adaptability that machines could never replicate. Even in decline, the knocker-upper remained a symbol of patience, human attentiveness, and quiet contribution, values that echo softly through history, reminding us of the subtle beauty in overlooked work. When we consider modern life, with its blaring alarms, vibrating phones, and instant notifications, it is easy to forget the gentle rhythms of past routines. The knocker-upper provides a poignant contrast, a slower, deliberate awakening, grounded in observation, empathy, and care. Today, mornings often begin abruptly, the body startled from slumber by technology that cares little for nuance or timing. The contrast evokes reflection on what has been lost, the quiet human connection, the subtle artistry, and the patience of anticipation. Imagining oneself in that era, waking to soft taps and distant whistles, allows a kind of meditation on the passage of time. The city moved differently then. People were interconnected by shared schedules, by reliance on one another, by rhythm and observation. Families woke in harmony with their neighbors, guided by the steady hands of the knocker-upper, who understood timing, temperature, and temperament. Each morning was a careful orchestration, repeated daily with intention and grace. Listening to the story now, one can reflect on the value of slow beginnings, of moments that require attention, of patience embedded in daily life. The knocker-upper serves as a symbol of calm awareness, a reminder that even in the simplest acts, there can be meaning, artistry, and connection. For the modern listener, it offers not only curiosity about a forgotten profession, but also a gentle meditation on rhythm, care, and the quiet beauty that humans can bring to everyday routines. Imagine stepping into the shoes of a knocker-upper on a typical morning. The sky is just beginning to lighten, soft tendrils of fog curling along the streets. The air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of damp earth, coal smoke, and the distant river. The first tap of the stick on a window echoes gently, a solitary sound that will guide the household from dreams into wakefulness. Walking from street to street, the knocker-upper becomes one with the city, aware of every step, every sound, every breath of wind. The fog muffles distant noises, creating a cocoon of calm in which each action feels deliberate, measured, and mindful. Houses rise and fall with slight variation, windows at different heights and widths, each requiring attention and care. Ladders must be adjusted, steps timed precisely, taps delivered with intention. Children stir behind curtains, pets lift their heads, and the city awakens slowly, responding to the gentle rhythm. The knocker-upper moves with purpose, yet never hurried, a steady presence in a world just coming to consciousness. Each block, each street, each household adds to the symphony of morning, and in this movement there is both labor and quiet meditation. The day continues in this careful dance. After a long route, the knocker-upper pauses for a brief moment, gazing across rooftops, feeling the calm of the city in the quiet light of dawn. Each tap, each step, each careful gesture has contributed to a shared rhythm, and the satisfaction is subtle yet profound. This life, though physically demanding, offers a unique intimacy with the city, a connection between worker and resident that few modern professions can replicate. In imagining this day, one glimpses the artistry hidden in the mundane, the calm in the repetitive, and the humanity embedded in the quiet work of awakening a city. As the sun rises higher, the streets of London take on a golden glow, and the work of the knocker-upper draws to a close. Windows are open, households are stirring fully, and the gentle taps and whistles have fulfilled their purpose. The city now carries the memory of those who guided it from dreams into the day. For the listener, there is a calm to be drawn from this forgotten world. Imagine walking through foggy streets, hearing the soft rhythm of taps echoing through alleys and terraces, feeling the measured pulse of a city awakening. There is peace in repetition, serenity in connection, and a gentle meditation in observing the ordinary, made extraordinary through care and attention. Allow this story to linger in your mind as the knocker-upper's gentle steps carry through the quiet morning. Let the rhythm guide your thoughts, the soft sounds ease your tension, and the image of a city slowly coming to life invite reflection and rest. The streets of London are no longer shrouded in fog, yet in imagination they remain alive, gentle, and soothing. Let this quiet history remind you that even in the simplest acts, there can be calm, connection, and beauty. And as you drift into your own day or into sleep, carry with you the gentle touch of the past, the soft rhythm of morning, and the serene artistry of the human heart.